This video will show how to build a software installer for any kind of software on Windows using ClickInstall 3. We're going to start the process by creating a folder on drive C, and in that we put some subfolders. We have an installer source folder, and that will include the application, PDF user guides, or any support DLLs or other files that you need to be installed on the customer computer. In our install output folder, we're going to generate the finished installer. And then finally in the support folder, we're going to add a background image for our main installer screen. We've also have another image for branding purposes we'll put up in the top right corner of that screen. We'll be referencing these files from ClickInstall. So ClickInstall is the application used to build the installer. When we double click to launch it, we're presented with a main screen. And we already have this screen filled in with information to build a specific installer. Up in the top left corner, we see a drop down where you can create separate setup records for each installer that you want to build. So we've clicked on the select button and selected our source folder, the output folder where we want to build our installer to. We've given a description for our installer. Now, ClickInstall uses the MSI compliant process for installing software on all Windows computers. That means that also once it's installed, the user can go to their control panel, see the installed application, and uninstall from the control panel if they'd like. So initially there's a bunch of empty fields. You can leave most of them empty, just fill in the ones you need. And for a standard install process on Windows, you're going to give the name of the company or manufacturer of the software, and that's going to create a folder either in Program Files x86 if you select a 32-bit installer, or in Program Files folder if you select a 64-bit installer. So there'll be your manufacturer's folder, and inside that folder will be your product folder, and that's where all the files will be stored during the install process on Windows. We have the version number of our installer that we're building, and finally the actual name that we want to generate to our installer file. Now we've selected a background image with the select button in our support folder there. And ClickInstall comes with a bunch of sample background images, although you can create your own JPEG files of the appropriate size to use as a background image. Likewise, we've put a little branding image up in the corner of that screen. Down here towards the bottom, you see a tabbed section, and in the main tab, you'll see the title that appears at the top of the installer screen, some text that appears in the middle of the screen, and that can be centered if you'd like. At the bottom of the screen, you can have a copyright notice or whatever other text you want to have placed at the bottom of your install screen. You can decide whether you want to build a 32-bit or 64-bit installer. And these buttons kind of customize the behavior of the installer when it's running on the user's computer. You could have an uninstall button, but we'll just leave that unchecked because the user can always uninstall from their control panel if they'd like. And we're going to uninstall if they already have an older version of this application installed on their computer. We're going to suppress most of the confirmation messages presented to the user and show a little progress indicator during the install process. We also have an option where at the end of the install process, the developer may decide just to automatically uninstall the installer file or prompt the user as to whether they want to discard the installer file, because once the software is installed, they may not need it again. ClickInstall offers many advanced features. We're just going to use a couple of the additional features for the simple installer. We're going to go to the agreement panel, and we've entered some text for kind of a default license agreement that can be presented. You can get this by simply clicking the default button, type in the text yourself, and you can also use HTML tags to format it. If you want to take a look at what it will look like on the user's computer, you can select the preview button and look at the formatting and color of that formatted license agreement. We'll also add a couple of shortcuts. So during the install process, we can have a desktop or start menu shortcut. Here's the name of the shortcut, and we've simply clicked on the select button and selected the application in our source folder. So it has the information needed to build this shortcut that gets added to the user's computer during the install process. We might also have shortcuts to launch PDFs and other types of files. Once everything is set up, we'll simply click the build button and wait till the installer has been built to our output folder. So here we see the installer or setup file we just generated. We can name that whatever we want, put it on our website, and then that's what a user would download and run to install the software. When the user double clicks, they'll see the main installer screen. You see the title at the top, the background image, the text, copyright notice at the bottom, a branding image in the corner. If the user clicks the install button, they're presented with our license agreement. They can click continue. And now they're going through the install process. You see the buttons have changed to the word install in progress. If it was a larger installer, there'd be a little progress indicator across the screen. At the end of the process, we have our shortcut on the desktop to launch the installed application. When a user launches the application by double-clicking, it's up and running. If the user right-clicks and chooses the open file location, they can actually see the location of the installed files. So we can see on drive C under program files x86, it was a 32-bit installer. And then there's the company name folder and the product folder, and then whatever files we chose to install on the user's computer. Finally, let's right-click on the Start menu at the bottom of our screen, and we will choose the Install Apps command, and Windows will show us all the apps that have been installed onto this computer. If we scroll down, we'll find the newly installed Hello app, the version number, and we can click the Uninstall button to remove that from our computer.